Welcome to the Wolfpack's presentation of Pro-Social Behavior in the Classroom and Beyond, Part 1. This GLE is hosted by Christina, Rebecca C., Nadia, Amanda, and Cheryl. The mission for Bright Sparks organization is to nurture and sustain child-centered, anti-racist early learning communities. So thank you for being on this mission with us. So let's start our presentation with a land and labor acknowledgement. We acknowledge that this land was stolen from the Duwamish people who stewarded it for generations before European colonization. As a Black man descended from Lakota Sioux and Cape Verdean immigrants with ancestors who experienced the horrors of slavery and displacement, I recognize the ongoing impact of this history. We honor the Duwamish and all indigenous peoples, as well as the labor and resilience of enslaved Africans and their descendants, by supporting organizations like the Duwamish Rent and King County Equity Now organizations. These organizations work to address the systemic inequities that persist today. So thank you, and if you can support, please support if you have the capacity to do so. Today's agenda for our GLE on pro-social behavior will be: first, learn how to reinforce behavior using authentic praise, address cultural competencies, learn conflict resolution skills, teaching children empathy, how to enter and support play, the power of positive communication, and creating a shared classroom language around behavior.
Thank you, Nadir. So the first pro-social behavior that we are going to talk about is conflict resolution. This is the process of ending a disagreement and reaching an agreement that satisfies everyone involved. Teaching young children conflict resolution skills is crucial because it equips them with the tools to navigate disagreements constructively, fostering empathy, communication, and emotional intelligence, which are essential for building healthy relationships and thriving in all aspects of life. So first, we're going to talk about conflict resolution with infants. And while infants lack the language and cognitive skills for complex conflict resolution, caregivers can promote the development of conflict resolution skills by utilizing the following tips. By being a model of good, calm behavior, we want to make sure that we're using a quiet and calm voice and avoiding escalating any situations that may be happening. With infants, you can redirect their attention. So offering an alternate or change of activity, teaching basic communication skills, so using simple words and modeling with action, and promoting understanding and empathy. Draw attention to the infant's facial expressions, naming feelings, and talking about emotions. With toddlers, it can be a little more advanced. So with toddlers, you can teach these skills by involving them in calming down, communicating clearly, and finding solutions. You can also help toddlers develop these skills by teaching them empathy and how to compromise. Um, so some ways that you can help them build these skills are by stopping hurtful actions and acknowledging everyone's feelings. So encouraging children to state what they feel and listen to each other's words. Restate the problem and brainstorm solutions. Getting down on the child's level is going to be very important. Helping state what is going on and then be prepared to give input. Choose a solution that everyone can agree on. Teaching children about compromise and listening to each other's point of view is very important. Not everybody is going to have a solution that is the best solution for them. So teaching them that it's okay to compromise. And then creating activities about conflict resolution and taking others perspective. So encouraging group discussions about feelings, emotions, and problem solving. And then these skills in preschool can be taught by approaching conflicts calmly, listening, and encouraging problem solving. So when you're talking with preschoolers and pre-Kers and even school agers, approach calmly and start stopping hurtful actions. So place yourself between the children that are having a conflict. Be down on their level and use a calm voice with a gentle touch. Remain neutral and do not take sides. Acknowledge and validate children's feelings. Saying something as simple as "you look really upset" if there is a dispute over an object. Let children know you need to hold the object. Gather information. Ask what is the problem. Do not ask why questions and fully listen to what each child has to say. Restate the problem. So examples could be, so the problem is, and then use and extend children's vocab, substituting neutral words for hurtful words such as stupid if needed. Ask for ideas for solutions and choose one together. Encourage children to think of a solution, but offer options if the children are unable to come up with one themselves. Remember that the more you give children the chance to resolve conflicts and come up with solutions, they will become better at it. And be prepared to give follow-up support. Praise children for solving their own problems and stay close by in case a situation arises again.
Thanks, Cheryl. Next, we're going to talk about empathy. So empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. So while everyone is born with the capacity to be empathetic, it is a skill that needs to be learned over time. So empathy really is a combination of both nature and nurture. As early learning professionals, it's important that the development of empathy is understood for each age group and developmental level, and that there is specific and intentional teaching about empathy becomes standard practice. So a little bit about the developmental continuum for empathy and really what each age group can or cannot understand or have the skills for at their respective ages. So for infants around birth to about 2, they may display basic emotional reactions, such as crying when they hear another baby cry. So that is an early form of empathy. They don't quite know why they're doing that or what that means, but they can sense and react to those emotions of those around them. So for toddlers around 2 to 3 years old, children this age are beginning to understand the emotions of those around them and may start to show concern when someone else is upset. Toddlers are also engaging in parallel play, so playing when they are playing alongside each other, different activities, but they are next to each other. And during this parallel play, they may copy the emotions or behaviors of others. Preschoolers, this is really the age where children start showing signs of basic empathy. So before 3 years old, there are some signs that they are understanding, but it is certainly not a developed skill yet. And it doesn't actually become fully developed until children are much older. But for preschoolers, so around ages 3 to 5, They do show concern for others, and they may try to comfort someone who is sad, and they might begin to share their toys. For older children, so children 5 to 7 years old, they may start taking the perspective of others and then begin to understand that other people's emotions, um, through, they may understand those through more complex play that they have. And it's not until children are 7 and older where they really begin to understand those more complex emotions, such as mixed feelings or the motivations behind other people's actions. And there are lots of different ways that we as early learning professionals can support empathy development in young children. So a lot of it looks a lot like what you do every day in supporting other social emotional development. The key in doing these things is really to remember what is developmentally appropriate and have your expectations meet where the child is at, and that your expectations are not too high or too low. So some ways that this support looks like can be to name and identify the different emotions you have, and naming and identifying the emotions that you see what the children are feeling. Validating all of their feelings. Telling them that they are okay is not a way to validate children's feelings. It's something that we hear a lot, and it comes from a good place. I know there's good intention behind it. But if you think about if you were having a really, really hard day and something really upsetting happened, and you went to a friend to ask for some support, and they just said, "Oh, you're okay." It doesn't feel very validating, or that they're listening to you, or that they see you. Um, and include all of the feelings, even some of those negative feelings. It is okay to be angry. It is okay to be sad. And then teaching them how to express their anger or their sadness in a way that is kind to other people. Being responsive to the children. So talking through your response so that they know why you are doing what you are doing. So narrating your empathy for them. So if you see a child crying, be responsive. If you know why they are crying, that's wonderful. Then you have the words to comfort them. The next way to support the empathy development is to help the children be responsive to their friends. So you can suggest ways they can help their friends feel better. Do they have a blanket or a stuffed animal that will give them comfort? Can they share a toy? You can offer different ways and show them a good example of how they can be empathetic. So modeling is a very powerful tool, especially for toddlers and preschoolers. They will do what they see, and if you are being empathetic, they will follow suit as well. Another powerful tool is including stories and books all about empathy and other social emotional matters and feelings. There will be a list of great books that do this when we send out the resources later. Take advantage of pretend play. So using stuffed animals or situations that happen in the dramatic play area can be a great tool for children to practice some of these empathy skills. And it's a safe way for them to act them out when it's not feeling quite so personal and their feelings aren't so immediate and strong in the moment. And then the last one is to really take some time and consider your policy on saying, "I'm sorry." So infants and toddlers and some preschoolers really do not understand what the words "I'm sorry" mean, and the concept of being sorry for having done something. So instead of forcing them just to say words that don't have any meaning. Um, really try to have the children focus on the other child's feelings and what they can do to help them feel better. So saying sorry is great, but if they don't mean it, are they really sorry? And that isn't really how to support the empathy development. So again, focusing on how the children are feeling and what they can do to make them feel better will help in the end.
Thank you, Rebecca. Hi, guys. Sorry. So, I'm going to talk about how we can actively support play in classrooms to encourage pro-social behavior, including ways to ensure children with autism feel included and engaged. So, number one is model and narrate positive interactions. So, for example, when playing with blocks, you can say, I see that Jordan is building a tower, and Emily wants to help. Let's ask Jordan, can Emily add blocks too? And why it helps is because this shows children how to invite others to play into a shared control of the activity. The next one is use guided play and partner activities. So, for an example, you could pair children up for a scavenger hunt where they must work together to find items. A child who might have autism could be paired with a buddy who could help model turn taking. This is cooperative activities and it encourages teamwork, communication in a structured way that makes it easier for all of the children to engage. Um, Also, praise and reinforcement positive behavior. So, for an example, if a child shares their toys, say, I love how you gave your friend a turn with the truck. That was so kind of you. Um, for children with autism, use a visual reward system, like a sticker chart to reinforce positive social interactions. You know, always go with the action and then the reward. You can teach social phrases and cues also, like introducing ways to join play with a poster or simple phrases like, can I play too? Or what are you playing? Or, if they're in dramatic play and the theme this month is like restaurants, or can I be the chef in your restaurant? Or, teaching them the different jobs that can be inside of that area. Also, create an inclusive play environment. So, an example would be having a variety of playstations, including quiet, sensory friendly areas for children who may feel overwhelmed in large group play. Sometimes children with autism would like to parallel play. So an item for like a separate place where they could build blocks kind of nearby the group would be really awesome for them. Next, I wanted to talk about how to help children with entering play and expanding their social skills. So you could teach observation skills. So for example, before joining play, encourage children to, kind of sit back and watch. That way they can see what's going on and they can notice, what the group's doing, what they're playing, and then they can think of like ways that they could be a part of it. Because a lot of times children will say, well, can I play? And it's like, sometimes kids really don't know how to answer that. They're like, well, what could you do? But if the kid's sitting back and observing, and they already have an idea coming into the game, like, oh, I'm gonna be the chef, then other kids are usually like, yeah, go ahead. Like, we could use a chef or we could use this. So that's why the entry strategies are really important. So a lot of people use second step. During your second step, you could role play different ways to join play. At circle time, you could practice like, I see you're playing superheroes. Can I be a superhero too? Um, Kind of providing like a structured script or like a choice board where they can point to sentences like, I want to play too for children who have autism. Um, Encourage taking turns and compromise. So during maybe if you're playing like a board game like Candyland, that you would explicitly teach taking turns. So now it's Jake's turn, and then it will be Mia's turn, just kind of help them understand the order so no one feels like they're being left out. For children with autism, you could use like a timer or a visual cue. So something that says like my turn, your turn, or a card to help with transitions. Just kind of provide support where it's needed. So if a child's being left out, gently intervene by saying, it looks like this friend might want to join. Can we make space for him? For children with autism, you can encourage peer buddies who can help kind of facilitate the inclusion by inviting that child to play. So, also, for children who have autism, you could provide choices, allowing the children to engage in their comfort level, whether joining the group or just playing alongside. Lots of visual cues, picture schedules, social stories, can help the children kind of understand play expectations. Also offering sensory friendly play options. Some children, they might need that quieter space or a fidget tool to feel comfortable joining in. And encouraging the peer buddy system once again, so that they can kind of model for the child and invite them into play. And also just make sure you're very patient. And understanding and flexible, allowing time for the children who need it. Small steps towards social engagement are a very big success. And beyond the classroom, we can extend these skills into everyday life, like encouraging family through playtime to do games and storytelling and kind of support the community engagement through like structured activities and promoting acts of kindness, like helping at home or including a new friend are great ways to strengthen pro-social behavior. Thank you guys. Sorry, that was both my slides.
Thank you, Amanda. Next, we're going to discuss creating an inclusive environment for all children. So promoting pro-social behaviors such as kindness and cooperation and empathy is essential for early childhood development. A culturally competent approach acknowledges and respects the diverse backgrounds of all children and families. So this section will explore strategies for creating an inclusive classroom that fosters pro-social behaviors. Okay, so first, understanding cultural values and norms. So as a teacher, you should research, learn about the cultural backgrounds of the students in your classroom. And research is also includes getting the family input so that you can engage with families to understand their perspectives on pro-social behaviors, as well as their preferred praise methods that they use at the home, which be more effective inside the classroom as well. Also, observe. Pay attention to children's interactions and communication styles, and then, adjust your style to make sure that it's more effective when you're communicating with that particular child. Creating a welcoming and inclusive environment. So in the classroom environment, you should have diverse materials, books, and toys that represent the children in your classroom, as well as the children that may not be in your classroom. The language, being mindful of language and encourage multilingualism. And that just supports the development of all language for the children, and then it fosters inclusivity within the classroom. And create a culture of respect, foster an atmosphere of respect for all cultures and beliefs, and that is done by you as the facilitator to model that behavior for the children. Next, explicit teaching and ongoing reflections. So that'll be when you're in those moments to talk about those pro-social behaviors and those different strategies that can promote growth. So the teaching pro-social skills explicitly, which be demonstrating and those pro-social skills and behaviors. So that'll be like the modeling, using your words, apologizing, giving the children the sentences on how to interplay or how to apologize or how to ask for certain things. The children are, using you as a role model, and that is your a role within the classroom to do so. Practicing pro-social skills in different scenarios. A great way to do that is by using puppets or asking the children to play out scenarios and by giving them a loose script to go by, and then using that scenario as a teachable moment for the children. And then storytelling, share stories that highlight pro-social actions. So children's books usually have a theme behind them. So look at the books that you have within your environment that promote the behaviors that you want to be seen inside your classroom. Next is using culturally responsive teaching strategies. So group activities are a great way to incorporate collaborative activities, and they're all together. So, they have many different rich social interactions in those moments that you're able to intervene and model and scaffold for. Also, an individualized approach for the children to adapt to diverse learning styles. So children learn differently. Some might be able to sit down and listen to a book being read. Others may need to have a more active activity for them to grasp that concept. So being flexible as well as providing different ways for the children to adapt and hone these skills based on their learning styles. And then positive reinforcement, using culturally appropriate praise and rewards for the children for their pro-social behaviors in the classroom can continue to make that behavior to perpetuate by itself. Next, we talk about addressing the challenging behaviors with cultural sensitivity. And then, the main thing is understanding and considering the cultural factors behind the behaviors and communicating and collaborating with the families in regards to the different expectations that they have, as well as, what is their strategies at home to address those behaviors as well. And then the next thing is ongoing reflection and learning. As the teacher, self-reflection is very important. That you are continuously working and aware of your own personal biases that you bring into the classroom. And then also seeking out professional development to enhance your cultural competence in the classroom as well. Next, we're discussing authentic praise and behavior-specific praise. Behavior-specific praise is praising a child for a specific action or behavior rather than giving general praise. It tells the child exactly what they did well, making the positive reinforcement much more effective. Instead of saying, "good job," you would say something like, "I really like how you helped Maria clean up the toys. That was very helpful and kind." So that gives them exactly what they did right and exactly what they can continue to do in the future. So the power of behavior-specific praise in ECE. First, it reinforces positive behavior. Behavior-specific praise clarifies expectations by telling children exactly what they did well. For example, "I love how you shared your blocks with Leo." This is more effective than the vague praise like "good job." So like I said earlier, it gives them exactly, the behavior that you want promoted within the classroom. It builds self-esteem and confidence. Specific praise makes children feel seen and understood, and it fosters competence and encouraging them to try new things because they feel supported and they feel that they can accomplish new things. So that's another benefit to adding behavior-specific praise within the classroom. It promotes pro-social behaviors. So highlighting positive actions like sharing, cooperating, and helping encourages their repetition and helps children to understand the social expectations within the classroom. Next is supports emotional development. Behavior-specific praise helps children to connect with their own feelings, with their accomplishments. So you can say, "You look so proud of yourself for finishing that puzzle." So that sense of accomplishment, they can connect it to the vocabulary word of proud. And then they are able to, gain emotional intelligence in that way. It also reduces challenging behaviors by focusing on positive behaviors. They can indirectly decrease negative attention-seeking behaviors because they know that they can get the same quality of attention through their positive behaviors. So it's definitely a way to change those behaviors within the classroom and have the child to get value off of doing positive things within the area environment. Enhances teacher-child relationships. Behavior-specific praise creates a positive and supportive classroom environment, and it strengthens the bonds and fosters trust between the adult and child. Next, it develops self-regulation. Behavior-specific praise can help children learn how to manage their emotions. For example, saying, "I noticed how you took a deep breath when you were frustrated. That was a great strategy." So that reinforces uh, them to use that tool again, and then for also to respect the effectiveness of doing so. Provides clear expectations. Behavior-specific praise clarifies what behaviors are acceptable and desirable within the environment, making it easier for children to follow rules and routines because they know what is expected, and it's very clear for them, it being some vague rules on a wall. So cultural competency and behavior-specific praise and why it matters. Families have varying values. Different cultures may place different values of importance on certain behaviors. So what is considered a desirable behavior in one cultural may not be as emphasized in another. So, having discussions with the families, you'll be able to find that information out, exactly, which desirable behaviors does the family look for and promote within their household. Communication styles, the way praise is expressed can vary across cultures. Some cultures may be more direct and expressive, while others may be more subtle and reserved. So, like I said, that goes back to the conversation with the families on, how they go about giving praise, as well as their cultural style on how to present that as well. Individualism versus collectivism. Cultures that prioritize individualism may focus on praising individual achievements, while collectivist cultures may emphasize praising their contribution to the group. And that coincides with back to the family structure and learning more about the culture that the families do come from, and that can be done independently as well. Excuse me. And then eye contact and physical touch. The use of physical eye contact and physical touch, which are sometimes used alongside praise, can have different meanings in different cultures. So just being culturally competent and aware of those particular boundaries and nuances will help you to, be more culturally competent when giving behavior-specific praise within your classroom environment. So let me stop my share.
All right. Right. So, in dear, we're moving on to the power of positive communication and why we should prioritize positive communication. Now, communication is more than just words. You can go to the next slide, 22. Oh, not the videos yet. Not the, there you go. So communication is more than just words. It is your tone. Is your tone warm and welcoming? Does it help a child feel comfortable? Or does it do the opposite? Does it incite fear? Does it create a sense of blame? Does it make them feel a certain way? It's your body language, from your hand gestures to your facial expressions down to your posture. They all communicate a message to a child. Energy is real. If you are in your body feeling like you don't want to be there, you don't want to do this today, you don't like circle time, you don't like this activity, you are in a way communicating that to your kids, not verbally, but you're communicating that with your body language. And that energy, kids mimic and they mirror that same energy too. So if you have that type of body language that you don't want to be there, the kids are going to feel that same way too. So you got to come into the classroom with a positive outlook, positive body language, And it's also communicated in the attention that you choose or choose not to give certain students. Sometimes in circle time, when there is an emotional need and you are prioritizing the time of the circle or getting to the next thing over the child's need, that is communicating to that child without communicating to them that this circle time is more important than your emotions. This next thing that we're doing, going outside, is more important than the needs that you have right now. So, in many ways, teachers are inadvertently communicating negative things to the children without even knowing it. So, just be really aware and intentional with everything that you use to communicate, from your words to your body language to your tone, and then also in choosing who you talk to, who you pay attention to, and who you allocate that time to while you're in the classroom as a teacher. Let's go on to the next slide. Now, I've done some studying, but let's first talk about the tone, the power of positive tonality. There's research done by what was it called? The University of Reading and the University of Ethics, I think, around controlling versus supportive tone. And in their research, they were able to find these results, that children responded more positively to supportive tones, and that controlling tones made children feel less competent, less likely to share personal information with their teachers. The controlling tones made them feel like they're less likely to cooperate. The tone of the voice is a very, very powerful way for teachers to convey a sense of caring and understanding. It's a nurturing tone that can really help children feel safe and valued. You really validate their emotions just based on the tone that you use with the students that you interact with. Now let's go on to the next video. I have some experiments I want to show you guys about how important these words that we use are. And the first one is going to be a rice experiment. Let's go ahead and play the video in the day.
Dr. Emoto has conducted another interesting experiment. He placed rice into 3 glass beakers and covered it with water. And then every day for a month, he said, "Thank you," to one beaker. "You're an idiot," to the second. And the third one, he completely ignored. After 1 month, the rice that had been thanked began to ferment, giving off a strong, pleasant aroma. The rice in the second beaker turned black, and the rice that was ignored began to rot. Dr. Emoto thinks that this experiment provides an important lesson, especially with regard to how we treat children. We should take care of them, give them attention, and converse with them. Indifference does the greatest harm.
Thank you for sharing that, Nadir. We can play the next one too. It's going to convey a similar message, but I just wanted to hit it back to back, and then we can talk about the importance of the words that we choose to use. The next one is called the flower experiment. So they do something similar with the flowers as well, with plants that grow.
If you want to empower yourself and use the laws of intention to manifest your material reality, watch this film. I hate you. I love you. The intention experiment is an extraordinary advance in our understanding of consciousness as a field of all possibilities where intention orchestrates its own fulfillment. I love you. I hate you. It implies that reality is not fixed but fluid or mutable and hence possibly open to influence. I love you. Thought generates its own palpable energy, which you can use to improve your life, and when harnessed together with an interconnected group to change the world. I hate you. I love you.
All right. So Nadir, you can go ahead and stop the video there, and we can talk more about it. Visual picture, and it's pretty striking. Once we get to the end of it, it's going to be more of the same, but what I take from this experiment and what I've been learning a lot about in my experience being in the classroom and being around children is every word that you use, every thought that you have about a child matters. Even if you're not speaking directly to that child, you're speaking around that child, you're speaking to teachers about that child, you're even making comments that it may even come off as you're joking about that child. But all those words, they stick and they absorb into your brain, into your mind, and it becomes a part of your normal way of thinking. You don't have to communicate to your kids that this child is this or that. You don't have to directly tell them to believe that. You're already talking about it with other teachers. And if they hear in their mind, they've already assessed and evaluated that this child is this category, these children are this category, this is this category, and they tend to enable that same thought. So you have to be really intentional about how you use your words, when you use it, and the thoughts that you have for your kids, the students around you, you got to keep it as positive. Now, the other thing that I took from that experiment is the plant and the rice that was being ignored. You saw the state and condition that it was in. Now, sometimes a teacher in the classroom, I've seen it and I've noticed it, even if it's just being on your phone or you're distracted by a different part of the day that is not the child, but if that child is asking you for something, or in that moment they want to share something that is important, and you are kind of dismissing them, that is ignoring them. Even if you go to them in a little bit and say, oh, hey, that's really cool. You're not really giving them that authentic attention that they were asking for. So that is essentially in a way, inadvertently ignoring that child. I've made that mistake with my kids being on my phone and they're trying to share me with something. And I say, hey, what, just 1 second for me to complete a text. No text message is more important than that child's need at that time. And if you're in circle time, no table activity is more important than that child's need in that very moment. Let's go into the next slide and we can continue talking more about the importance of the words and the positive communication. And we already went through this one, right? So the point of all this is I want us to really normalize finding the positive in every situation. And sometimes it's just a switch of the mindset. And I want to kind of make it a little bit easier and simplify it. And I try to do it in two different strategies. I try to praise more effort and I try to give more grace. So there's a lot of times where I think in the classroom we seek more negative than we seek positive. We tend to remind kids, this is not what you're supposed to do, and trying to remind this is what you're supposed to do, this is not. And it tends to be they hear more negative coming out of us. We give more attention to negativity than we give more attention to positivity. So if in your work day while you're teaching, just be more intentional to look for more of the positive things. So in a situation like this, the one example that I wrote is if the child isn't following the exact direction, this is something that you can say instead of reminding them what to do instead. You can say, you're trying your best to listen, and I appreciate that you're trying to join in on the activity. It shows that that child is making effort to get there, and you believe that they can get there. If you're telling them, hey, that's not their thing to do, or you're saying it in a negative way, you're putting them down. You're not believing that they can get there. You got to show that positive energy to be in their corner, to push them towards where you want them to be at. And the last one is giving grace. There's a lot of room for mistake. Kids are now learning emotions for the very first time, experiencing things for the very first time, sometimes hearing a new sound, new music, playing with a new toy for the very first time. So if they're not listening right away or they're behaving a certain way or a strong emotion is overwhelming them in a way that they don't know how to comprehend or understand that, give them some grace. Talk to them, walk them through it, hold their hand through this. Don't make them feel bad for feeling sad. You have no idea what's been happening at home. You have no idea what's happening in their outside life. So my main strategy is praise effort as much as you can and to give grace in as many situations as you can. One example I wrote is if a child is having a meltdown during cleanup, walk them through it. Say, it can be hard to clean up when you're feeling big emotions. I understand. Let's put away just a few toys together and then we can take a break and I can help you with it later on. You're going down into their position. You're showing them that, hey, I'm here with you too. This is not just your problem. This is our whole class as a collective. Let me help you out with this and let's get this class clean. Give them some grace and praise their effort. Make them feel better about the things that's happening in the classroom and help them learn more about their emotions as opposed to making them feel bad.
All right, thank you, C. And now I'm going to talk a bit about how to create a shared classroom language. So in a classroom of children, we as teachers often find ourselves giving children words to utilize in certain situations. This in itself is something that we can use to create a shared language within the classroom. So what is a shared language? Having a shared language within any environment is language we use as a classroom community to promote a shared understanding of something that we can all understand the meaning for and know when we should use in any given situation. This promotes language and problem solving to build understanding and ultimately to get our students' needs met. So here are some strategies for implementing shared language, and then we'll go into some ideas for your classroom. So the first one is modeling, which you do every single day. You as a teacher are going to be very effective in creating a shared language amongst your students. You probably already have some shared language within your classroom that you use every day. So you want to model this language in your interactions within the classroom. You as a teacher are a part of many of the situations that would call for utilizing a shared language. An example of this looks like modeling simply, "Can I play with you?" when you as a teacher are trying to interplay with a child. If you see a child taking a toy from another child, have the child whose toy was taken away say, "Stop, I don't like that." By utilizing these common words and phrases, you are building language in children through you modeling, and they will start to use it as it becomes normalized within the classroom. The next one is to just directly teach it. So an activity that can go a long way in teaching these skills is a practice called cool mindset. This is something that you'll want to do during a circle or even as a table talk if there's any wait time for a meal or whatever it is. This looks like having the children imagine a common situation that you might be dealing with in your classroom. So for an example, think of something that you've been seeing quite frequently that your children will more than likely resonate and identify with. So while in circle, say something like, "Okay, class, we are going to imagine something together." And then you're going to want to paint a picture of the common scenario. So you'll say something along the lines of, "Imagine that you were drawing a picture in the art area. You had your marker that was your favorite color, and you were drawing the best picture you ever made, and you felt so proud of your picture. You think it might possibly be the best picture you have ever created. Then suddenly someone walks over to you and draws on your paper. What would you do?" And so the students are going to share what they would do during this time. And you'll want to comment on it, saying things like, "That sounds like you know exactly what to say if that happened to you." You can infuse some of this language you would like to model with them as well. You could say, "Let's practice saying, 'Stop, I don't like that,' and have the children repeat what you said and practice putting their hand up when you practice saying stop." You can do this with any situation or scenario as needed and infuse it with any language pertaining to the situation. This allows children to practice problem solving while they're not actually upset, so it can be much more effective. Of course, you will need to provide reminders in the moment as children actually working through the problem and coach them through these moments, through all the steps that we just described, to provide support and encourage language and problem solving, and to empower your students with skills that will enable them to get their needs met. Another idea is to create. So create a classroom poster for ideas for a specific issue. Sharing, of course, is a big one. While doing a circle time, you can bring it up. Say something like, "Class, I've noticed something happening in our classroom and I need your help solving this problem. I've noticed that sharing in our classroom has been super hard lately. How can we solve this problem?" Your students are going to have opinions about this and will share their ideas. As they're sharing, write them down, and as you hear what they're describing, you can make simple drawings like stick figures to show what they mean because they'll need a visual to put it together. And through this, you're infusing the social situation with language and literacy, making this activity meaningful to your students. You'll ideally want to come up with 3 or 4 solutions to a specific problem, whatever it is. It might look like drawing a timer for sharing, 2 children sharing a toy together, or 2 children playing together. You can draw pictures. You can even find pictures out of magazines or print them off from your computer. You'll want to choose a few things that you know will be supportive solutions to a problem in your classroom. If you need to go back and redraw a poster, certainly do that. But if you do this, you will need to bring it up again in another circle to demonstrate how to use it, where it lives, and what they might need to know. When this real life conflict comes up, ask again in another, sorry, when this real life situation comes up, ask again, "How can we solve this problem?" Take the children over to the poster that you co-created with them and go over the solutions and ask them what will work best. And ensure the solution works for both children. You'll want to refer to it in the situation as much as possible to really instill problem solving in this fashion. Before you know it, children will have the skills needed through real life practice and problem solving, and then you'll start to notice them going over to the poster on their own to choose ideas for how to solve their problem. A big one that was mentioned a couple times in this GLE were utilizing stories. So social stories are a really great way to instill some of these things that we're talking about. Not only do they model through storytelling situations that occur to them, but you can ask questions along the way, like, what would you say if this happened to you? What would you tell this character to say to help them out in this situation? And this gets them practicing some ideas that they might want to try when they find themselves in those situations themselves. Some stories will even offer you language that you can bring into your shared language, making children excited to utilize language and problem solve. And so next we'll talk about some different things that you can actually bring in as far as language. So some common ideas for shared language you can begin to implement into your classroom is simply the word stop. This can be very effective. This is one of the first things you might want to teach your students, because in a situation where a child is experiencing another child taking a toy from them, hitting them, or something else they do not like, you can teach them to say the word stop or even to put their hand up. Teaching a child just to simply put their hand up can go a long way, because they might be so upset that they can't even say anything. And so you're meeting them where they are. If you want to expand upon it, you could say, teach them how to say, I don't like that, or I don't like it when you do whatever the action is. This can take the place of stop, or or it can be a step further for problem solvers to learn to express their needs at a higher level. Another big one that Amanda mentioned is simply asking, can I play with you? When you notice a child trying to enter play, have the child say, can I play with you? This creates a habit of using this language to enter into play in a way that allows children to understand. As explained earlier, some children will enter play through methods of being a little bit destructive. They might break someone's toy, they might hit someone, and that's all to let them know that they want to play, because they simply haven't learned the skills to enter into play. A common one that you'll see, you probably already know about with older children, is when children say, you're not my friend, or you can't come to my birthday. You can teach your children instead to say, can we play later? Children's friendships are very fluid, and when a child says, you're not my friend, it is more meant as, I'm playing with this person over here, and I'm not playing with you right now. They're still learning that you can have many friends, but maybe can't play with everyone all at the same time. And then if you use it enough, you'll start to hear children say, I need to solve a problem. This is something that will be for a seasoned problem solver. When you as a teacher see a conflict happening, using the words, we have a problem to solve here, or something along those lines, will help children to identify what a problem is and what it might look like, and articulate that it needs to be solved. At the end of the day, these efforts will be fruitful because you are instilling consistent practices that will allow children to articulate their needs through language. When children create this new habit, they will transition to it as more of a path of least resistance. Children will default to what will be less emotionally hard for them when they experience new strategies that do work, that are less emotionally taxing on them. It will take time, practice, and consistency, but you will be setting your students up for success in the long term as they move into kindergarten. A large part of our job as early learning teachers is to do just this, because children will be in large groups in school for their entire childhood, and this is the greatest gift that you can teach them.
Thank you for joining us. Please join us back for part 2 of our series. If you have any questions, please reach out to your coach, and they will give you any answers or resources that you would need. Thank you from Team Wolfpack. Have a great day.